Hello, YouTube. How are you guys doing this year? That's right. It is your girl, Ebony, back with Real Talk Therapy 101. I know it's been a minute. I missed you guys, and I want to say thank you to those of you who have reached out and requested new videos by popular demand. The holidays, of course, is a busy time for everybody, but it also brings into play seasonal depression, a lot of mental stress, anxiety for gift buying, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so everybody can get caught up in the hype around that time. And then, of course, just everyday life, what we talk about here on Real Talk Therapy. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Ebony Campbell. I am a certified alcohol and drug counselor in the state of North Carolina. I am also a certified peer support specialist and a master level qualified professional in behavior and mental health. Not only that, I am currently in school working on my second master's, getting my master's in social work so that I can become a licensed clinical therapist. Now, ironically, being that that's my field and line of work, I just also, dibble and dabble in a lot of other things. But my main thing is trying to help people navigate their way through their life's journeys to figure out what's working, what's not working, what they want to do, where they want to go, how they got where they are, how to get away from where they are, how to stay put if that's what they want to do. And in all of that and doing that and coming through for people, last year, I learned some hard lessons about coming through for me. So I told you guys as I progressed in the channel, the conversations will get more real. And I've learned in the past couple of weeks that I do my best work when I'm unprepared. I do my best work when it's real. Authenticity, originality is a big thing for me. And a lot of times when I'm really going through stuff, I tend to shy away from the camera, from people, from doing things, but I get up somehow and show up for work. So this year I want to be more dedicated to this channel. I do believe that everybody needs somebody. I don't care what it is that you go through. I don't care what it is that you're experiencing. There's nobody out there that wants to be alone and enjoys being alone all the time. Sometimes people need to know that they have folks they can go to, people that they can call on, people that they can trust with their feelings, with their concerns, with their cares. And right here on Real Talk Therapy, we're going to have those real conversations about things that may or may not come up for you, especially if you are not comfortable with going to see someone or talking to a licensed mental health social worker or a licensed professional counselor. Mental health does not mean that you're crazy. It just means that you're going through something and you don't know how to navigate from where you are. Sometimes we don't even know how we got where we are. And if we don't sit down and start taking accountability for our actions, for what we did to get to those places, then you're going to forever stay stuck because you're looking for people to blame. And a lot of times that person is right in front of you. We don't like confrontation. I know I definitely don't like it. I don't like hearing about myself. Nobody likes to hear those things, but it's needed. And because I went through that period of things last year and, continuing to go through different things, it's called growing pains. And you learn and you grow and you maneuver and you figure your way out. But I just know that I hold true to my beliefs. I can hear you, understand you, and I can agree with you. But if I don't, I don't, and there's that saying of we can agree to disagree. It doesn't always work in some instances. And so sometimes we find ourselves stuck in jobs that are no longer fulfilling, friendships that are no longer, mutual, relationships that are no longer what they used to be. And if the two parties can't come together and figure out how to maneuver and work together, then sometimes you find yourself in uncharted waters, places you've never been before, not knowing what to do. So today, hold on. So if you're new to the channel too, I usually feature a t-shirt of the day, shoes of the day, and a bag of the day. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, I have a slight addiction to coach. And I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I almost hit it. So I had to pause. We just celebrated our Founders Day on January the 13th. Only the best sorority to be a part of. Now, no disrespect to any others, but Delta is just Delta. There's no comparison. And so I'm proud to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta. I pledged in spring '98. Delta Chi raised and made me at Elizabeth City State University, and love the concept and the camaraderie of sisterhood. So I am going to come out of this hot vest, but I want to keep it on. Well, no, I got to keep it on because my bag of the day matches my vest. So it's little coach number. I went to a high school called Scotland High School where the Fighting Scots was our mascot, and so this bag reminds me a lot of the Scottish print. This is an older bag, but of course it matches what I have going today. And then my shoes, red Vapor Max for what's going on for today. So on each video, I will feature a bag of the day and shoes of the day. And before I was prepared to do this video, I was actually going to switch up my tires, switch up my bag, and because it's the new year and people is all like out with the old, in with the new. But are you really out with the old? And are you really in with the new? But today we're gonna talk about games people play. So as a child, as an adult, there are some games that I just love to play. I think everybody has a game, a favorite game, or a least favorite game. There's some games that we've all played in our life, some games that we may not have ever played. And then as you grow older, you start learning how to play different games. So of course, as an adult, some of the games you played as a child, you definitely don't find yourself playing those games anymore. So you end up, knowing how to play them, but you just don't play those particular games anymore when you become an adult. Hide and seek used to be one of my favorite games. I always wanted to hide, but I never wanted to be the one that was seeking. And so with every game, you have parts of the game that you like to play, and then there was parts of the game that you just did not like to play. But it didn't matter because the rules of every game are just that. They're the rules. Every game comes equipped with some rules. And there are some games that now that I'm an adult, I really hate that I learned how to play so well as a child, because if you aren't careful, you'll find yourself still playing those games as you grow up because you've incorporated as a way of life for you. And so one of my favorite introductory interventions I do with families when I'm out doing community support team or intensive in-home with families, I have a deck of Uno cards. And in the Uno cards, they come with instructions. So when Mattel made this game, and I knew it, I should have looked in here. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to find my instructions. But when Mattel made this game, they put in here a set of instructions on how to play. And anybody that's ever played Uno knows that everybody makes their own rules when they're playing Uno. So, you come up with like this Uno Mercy and all these different things with Uno. And we were doing that long before Uno came out with those games. We were making up our own rules of how to play Uno. And ironically, you start learning the way that Mattel designed the game and wanted you to play. But as you begin to play and create your own rules, you get lost in how to really play Uno. If you weren't the creator, your rules don't matter. Nobody has to follow your rules if you weren't the creator of Uno. So if people don't want to play by your rules when you want to play Uno, we have a tendency to feel some type of way, as Rich Homie Qual would say, or we would feel like, oh, well, if you don't want to play by my rules, then we can't play. It's okay to say you don't want to play if the rules switch up and they're only catered to the person that are changing the rules. And I say that to say over the course of my life, as I've wanted things to happen and maneuver and I wanted things to just, kind of go the way I thought they should go, I would find myself breaking the rules. I would find myself changing the rules. And as long as I broke the rules and it didn't become a factor and nobody knew or it didn't become an issue, I did not bother to go back and say to anybody, yo, we were playing this game and I changed the rules. But as soon as I was found out, then I had to maneuver the way I had to maneuver because I wasn't following the rules. And so, when we get into life and we get into different things, we have to know that there are certain rules we have to follow. My grandmother has this saying that as long as you're in your house, you can have your way. Well, that ain't always true. But you don't have to live the way the world lives when you're in your house if nobody else is paying your bills or, taking 100% care of you or any of that stuff. In your house, you should be able to have your way. But the minute that we step outside, there's rules of the world. There's driving rules. You can't go but so many miles per hour, depending on what highway you're on. You can't, talk loud or have conversation when you're in a courthouse. They have rules. If court is in session, you got to be quiet. When you go into a church building, the church has rules. And so, you can opt to follow the rules or not go and participate in whatever the event may be. And that's fine with life. I used to want everybody to follow the rules that I had developed. And I had to learn quickly that that's not life. That's not the reality of life. I am learning right now that I live in a real world, but I live outside of my reality in that real world. I have a tendency to make things bigger than what they are. I have a tendency to see things in people that I want to see. Some of it I see. It just hadn't developed in some people. But some things I imagine seeing and I create seeing and I give people this bigger than life persona instead of accepting them for who they are and where they are in those moments. And those are hard lessons to learn sometimes because you end up creating an avenue of disappointment for yourself. Nobody told me that, this person was going to be this way. I put it in my head and I wanted it to be that way. And instead of me being in the moment of what was real, I chose to escape to my own reality that will sometimes, just leave you in places of confusion, frustration, not knowing what to do with yourself, not knowing how to maneuver. And then it all leads back to how we perceive and what we accept. So if we're going to sit down and play Uno Mattel's way, then everybody that's playing needs to be on board. But if we're going to sit down with a deck of Uno cards, just like this deck, that might be a reason why I want no rules in here. So this deck of cards, Mattel, is in the original packet, but I have no rules. So if I sit down to play Uno with somebody, I can't even read the rules from this particular deck of cards because the rules have been removed. So sometimes that's what happens in games that we play. And so as I was preparing to do this video today, I, traveled back into my little childhood memory and thought about a game that I learned to play early on that I could possibly still be playing today. And what came to mind today was make-believe. So as the oldest of four and the only girl, there were rare occasions that my brothers would play with me. And if they played with me, 9 times out of 10, I had to play what they wanted to play. So, I learned to play football. I learned to play baseball. We would race. We would do hide and seek. We would do, you would make up games. I don't know if y'all made up games when you were growing up, but depending on what you had and where you lived and all of that good stuff, we used to make up games. Nickelodeon had Double Dare. And my mom used to work third shift, and so we had to stay in the house while she was asleep. We didn't want to go to sleep, so we're going to make these obstacle courses, and we're going to play Double Dare. And I mean, we did all kinds of craziness and got in all types of trouble, but our imaginations were so big. And in make-believe, I could be whoever I wanted to be, and everybody around me would be who I wanted them to be. And it wasn't until literally today, thinking about that I realized I have gone through not only my childhood, but my early adulthood, and now I'm in middle adulthood at the tender age of 47. Middle adulthood, preparing to enter, the last phase of adulthood, and I still play make-believe. I still want to believe that love really conquers all. I still want to believe that people can find the best versions of themselves when other people are cheering them on. I still believe that if I operate in a way of encouraging people and letting them know that they matter and letting them know that they have a place and a purpose, that somehow they will figure out that they have a place and a purpose and they will walk in their destiny. I still believe that I can provide some type of comfort to someone who's grieving. But the reality of that is sometimes when people are going through and they're grieving, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to nobody. And if I really sit down and think about how I am when I'm going through something, it's okay to hear an encouraging word. It's okay for somebody to tell you that it's going to be all right. But there are some moments where I just simply don't want to hear it. I just simply don't want to believe it. And the reality of that is learning to accept situations for what they are. Learning to accept people for who they are. And learning to accept your place in people's lives. We can't force feed even a baby. When a baby is tired of eating, they will shut their mouth and shake their head no. They've had enough. And we'll sit there and try here, eat some more. And that baby is vigorously shaking his head or her head, saying no, if they don't knock the little spoon or something out of your mouth. But we are intent on force feeding, forcing things on folks, and never stopping to think what it would look like if we were the one being forced, if we were the person where somebody was trying to tell you what was best for you and what you need and what you should do and all this good stuff. That's not how any of this works. And so as I'm on my own journey, I had to realize that a lot of times when I sit down and I want to have these conversations with you all, that I'm really having a conversation with Ebony. I'm really talking to the girl that I lost. I'm really talking to the girl that I miss. I'm really talking to the girl that I allowed circumstances and things in my life to cause me to become something I'm not, or try to be somebody that I'm not, to accommodate folks, because I would rather people around me be accommodating, or I would rather people around me be accommodated than accommodating. And then, you have those moments where it's one day you wake up and you're just like, what about me? What about, those people being there for me? And then I start to look at who is there for me, who has always been there for me, who was there for me. And as I'm having conversations with some of my loved ones, real conversations, and they're telling me, all right, Ebony, people are in your corner. It's just not how you wanted to look. And I had to realize that was because I'm now still operating in my make-believe reality of what camaraderie looks like, what authenticity looks like, what originality looks like, what standing on your own, being who you are, believing in who you are, and not giving a flying flip how anybody feels about it. Saying what you need to say, meaning what you need to say, and moving past how other people feel about it. Because if they ain't checking for your feelings, why are you checking for theirs? We put ourselves in situations. We create anxiety. We can't create depression. I'm learning we cannot create depression. Circumstances, things that have happened to us begin to create our depression. But anxiety, we control that 100%. We look for people to behave in ways that's unrealistic. Or we want people to do things for us that we ain't doing for them. Or we have expectations of people that we can't even meet. What kind of sense does that make? So you end up putting yourself in a situation where things don't feel good, things don't sound good, things don't look good, things are no longer good. And then now how do you maneuver from that? The Bible, and I failed to mention at the beginning of this that I use music, movies, videos, all types of things when I'm doing interventions. And my spiritual faith is Christianity. I believe in the Bible. I'm a Christian. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. And in the past 2 years, I actually stopped going to church because there were some things that I had to reel in and I had to deal with. And the church at that time was noise to me. Nobody in that church was saying, hey, how are you? But everybody in that church was saying, hey, can you? Will you? Would you? Nobody stopped to say, Ebony, how are you? And when you get asked those questions, when you finally are asked how you're doing, it's hard for you to communicate that sometimes because you're always the one, kind of doing the asking and checking on everybody else. So when I stopped going to church, I truly expected to hear from some of the church members. It's 3 years later, and I could literally name the 2 or 3 that I've heard from. But I had to learn to be okay with that because when I was going to church, it wasn't about the members of the church, but it was about the message that I needed to receive. And so I went back this year, started back reading the word for myself and rebuilding my relationship with Christ. And so, the Bible tells us in order to have a friend, we have to show ourselves friendly. And I started thinking about what does that mean? The Bible tells us, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Those who really love you and care about you, they're going to be there. It ain't going to matter what you can do. It ain't going to matter what you can't do. It ain't going to matter what you say. It ain't going to matter how many times you've messed up. It ain't going to matter. They just going to be there. They may not always be there in the capacity or in the way that you want them to be. But that's where your harsh realities and the games that you play, you got to be able to sit down and look at it. Why am I still living in a make-believe world at the age of 47? Why do I believe my methods of training and teaching people how to do the job that I know how to do, that if I teach them the way that I know how to do it, that they're going to get it? No, I have to learn people's learning styles in order to train and teach them. So in every instance of life, I still have to be accommodating to a degree. If that's the work that I'm going to do. When you're in friendships and relationships, things work 2 ways. I can harp all day on the wrong that people have done to me, but how much time do I spend on the wrong that I've put out there and the wrong that I've done? How much time do I really invest in looking at the part I played in anything in my life that has fallen apart or is falling apart? And I can honestly sit here with you guys today and say little to none. So as I start looking at Ebony, things start becoming a lot more clearer. I had to come out of the fog. I had to stop letting people say what they wanted to say and just say, okay, I understand. I'll change. No, let's talk about it and let's see what we can do to change. And if we ain't going to do nothing, it's going to be whatever's getting ready to turn out to be. You can be a big person, but not be a grown person. You can be an adult and still be immature. You can be in places of, I recently dealt with professional immaturity, on my job. I'm looking at situations and looking at people like, y'all grown. Why are we even having this conversation and doing this? But everybody is grown on a different level. And you outgrow people, you outgrow places, and you outgrow things. Going along to get along is the worst, I don't know what word to use right now, but it's just the worst avenue leading to personal anxiety. because you begin trying to do what everybody else wants you to do and speak how everybody else wants you to speak and maneuver how when I'm having to do a disciplinary action, I want to sit there and, I know that this is hard and I'm sorry. No, there's a little bass in my voice. It ain't going nowhere. I'm not the soft-spoken chick. I speak with purpose. I speak with, what's real and what's not. I speak from a place of genuineness. I speak from a place of realness. And when I see that people can't handle it, I'll fall back and try to spare their feelings. But all I'm doing is giving them an open invitation to not grow. And I'm stumping my own growth. And so as you look at the games that people play, the things that people do, and you have this commentary, and you have all of these solutions and all of these answers for the people around you because you think they're supposed to behave how you want them to behave, and you ain't create them, you ain't have nothing to do with who they are and how they came to be, then you can't expect anything other than who and what they are. And look for those things to love in them if that's the choice that you're making. Nobody is going to ever do everything that I want them to do. Nobody. And the flip side of that is I'm never going to do what everybody around me wants me to do. I'm one person. If I cater to my family, then I can't cater to the job in the same way. Then I can't cater to the church in the same way. Then I can't cater to friends in the same way. Because now I got to become the person with multiple personalities. No. And those who really, really care about me and care about anything that I'm involved in have always told me to be me. And I'm going to forever be grateful and love those folks for that. Because I believe now, walking in that, things are going to be a whole lot easier. Now, there's still going to be some storms. You live long enough, you're going to go through something. There's still going to be some things I don't like. I'm going to still do some things people don't like. That's life. But genuine love, it goes without, it's unconditional. It comes without condition. If there's conditions to somebody loving you, if you got to do certain things to receive love from people, that's not genuine. It's conditional. And the minute that you can't conform to those conditions, watch how quick they switch up on you. If it hasn't happened to you already. So think about when you were a kid and you wanted to play with these other kids and they wanted you to do a certain thing. And if you was like, no, well, I don't want to be the person that they got to get on my hands and knees. I don't want to be the horse and everybody riding my back just because I'm the tallest. And if I don't want to be the horse, now I can't play with them. That's the same thing in adulthood. You'll find people that, oh no, you did this. So now I can't do that with you. Accept it. Figure your way out. Figure your way towards where you should be, playing with who you're supposed to be playing with. Or have the conversation with that person and say, hey, listen, I don't think it's fair that every time we play this game, I got to be the horse. Why can't I be the cowgirl sometimes? Or why can't we find a whole nother game to play? There's so many different ways to resolution without resorting to continuously play games. You'll play a game that's fun for you. Play a game where everybody's going to follow the rules. Nobody's going to step outside of how you're supposed to play. And then if the rules change, ask those folks that you're playing with to tell you what they are so you can decide if you still want to play the game or not. It really is that simple. So thank you guys for sticking with me I see the some of the videos are still getting views. I got a notification of more subscribers, and then it was just motivation. You know, when I get a message to say, hey, are you gonna do any more videos? And I'm just like, yeah, I keep saying I'm going to, but then I don't sit down and do it. So that's something that has to change for me. Find one thing within yourself that you know you want and need to change. And not because somebody around you wants you to do it, but because you know you need to do it. Because you know you want to do it. And then if you can look at yourself and honestly evaluate yourself and feel like there's nothing in you that needs to change, more power to you, my sister, and more power to you, my brother. Because none of us are perfect. Perfection is an illusion. And I used to strive to be perfect. I used to want to be perfect so bad. I used to want to people to see me with no fault so bad. And I never could reach it because it's not possible. You can perfect some things that you do. You can perfect, some things that you're good at, some skills, but there's nobody walking this earth that's perfect at everything in life. That was a harsh reality blow for me. But it was one of the realest lessons to learn. Everybody ain't gonna like me. And somehow today I'm all right with that. Everybody that's wearing the same jersey ain't always on the same team either. So you could be wearing the same jersey. Y'all supposed to be out here working together as a team. But you got some people wearing your jersey looking for the moment to expose you or looking for the moment to try to steal your glow, steal your shine because they don't know how to walk in their own. You'll begin to see those people when you start looking at yourself, and you'll be able to know. And then they'll weed away. They'll weed themselves away. Instead of them trying to look at who they are and operating in their own light, they constantly looking at you and getting mad because of your glow, not realizing that sometimes they're shining brighter than you. I love to see people shine. I love to see people make it. I am probably one of the best cheerleaders on anybody's team without pom-poms. I never tried out. I never wanted to be a cheerleader, but just a life cheerleader. You can make it. You can get to the other side. It might not feel like it. Going through stuff, it hurts. Going through stuff, it stings. The truth hurts. It's another thing that's written in the Bible. It hurts. It cuts like a two-edged sword, which means while I'm trying to stab you with this knife in my hand, if the sword is two-edged, I got a part in my hand that's going to make me bleed too. That thing hurt. But it's real. And it'll make you a better person because you'll know where to start correcting anything that you find fault in yourself. But if you don't find any fault in yourself, now again, I ain't talking to you. If you already got it together, this message ain't for you. I'm just talking to the folks that's trying. We're trying to get where we need to get to. We in areas and we know things that, we feel like we might know, or we in areas and we're able to do things that we feel like we can do. But then in the interim, we all have something that we fall short in. We all have something. I don't care who you are. And it's okay to fall. Get up. It's okay to fall sometimes and stay down there for a minute if that's what you need to do. Every coping skill doesn't work for everybody. My 0 to 10 is nobody else's 0 to 10. I promise you it ain't. Everything about you is unique. Everything about you is specialized. Operate and move in that. Be grateful for that. Because if we lived in a world where we were all the same, what kind of fun would that be? So look for the things to have fun in. Look for the ways to prosper. Learn how to enjoy your own company. Because you never know when you'll find yourself in a position to have to. Some people don't know how to enjoy themselves. So they jump from relationship to relationship. They jump from friendship, friend group to friend group. They jump from church to church. They jump from, just whatever social platform, they own social media and they agree on what the internet says instead of having a mind of their own. We weren't designed to be that way. Individuality is sacred. Excuse me. Not only is it sacred, it's just divine, man. You are who you are. Your name rings out. Your personality rings out. Your character rings out. Learn how to tap back into that. If you're a mom, learn how to give yourself a break, especially if you're a single mom. Find some supports. Have somebody watch them kids and go do something for you, even if you have to do it once a month. The only way you'll know what that is and be able to figure it out, you got to get to know yourself again. The Bible says, love your neighbor like you love yourself. Well, I know I haven't been loving my neighbor right because I haven't been loving myself right. Happiness is our own responsibility. People can contribute to your happiness, but nobody in this world is responsible for your happiness. Nobody in this world is responsible for your downfall. Nobody in this world is responsible for what happens to you unless they intentionally, physically cause you harm. Other than that, you control the narrative. Don't give it away. When we give people control, boy, you better buckle up and get ready. Do not give your control away. Do not sacrifice yourself for anything that could potentially become a liability in your life. So, thank you guys for coming. I'm not going to sit on here and commit to a schedule because I still don't know how often I will be on here. But if you are new, I do want to ask that you please like, subscribe, share, repost, whatever all the lingo, the YouTube lingo is as I continue to try to learn how to do this thing. I'm going to try to create my intro, and I've been doing a little bit with the editing. I hope I remember as I prepare to post this video. But in the interim of that, I've decided that if I want to do something, I need to learn how to do it, just like I learned everything else that I wanted to do. And so I really want to be able to come on here and share these things with you all. Sometimes we don't go and see a therapist. Sometimes we don't go and talk to somebody. Sometimes we're not even, in a position to talk to somebody who may understand what it is that we're going through, what it is that we're feeling. Sometimes we just don't have that. Everybody is not as fortunate as some folks. But when you do have it, cherish it, especially someone that's going to be honest with you, tell you the truth, and help you move from the world of make-believe and come into a world of reality. That's what we live in anyway. So y'all take care, be easy, have a great day, and until next time, learn how to be true to you so that you can be true to those around you. Love yourself first, because if you don't love and pour into you, you really won't have anything to really love and pour into anybody else. All right, y'all. Bye.